Hi guys, let's go ahead and start work together 12-1. So we'll start by reading the problem. The October 15th time card for Alice Webster and time card data for the other employees are provided in the working papers. Your instructor will guide you through. Round hours to the nearest quarter hour. Calculate the regular, overtime, and total hours worked by Miss Webster. Any hours over 8 hours per day or 40 hours per week are considered overtime. So anything over 40 or over 8 hours per day, per week. This is very typical. We work a 40-hour week. Normally, almost every adult who works does that, the 40-hour week, unless they're an entrepreneur or a business owner. They're working way more than 40 hours a week, and 8 hours a day. So each work week begins on a Monday, so the start of the week is Monday. Record the total hours on the time card. So here is the time card, and it wants us to just calculate the hours for Alice Webster. So I promise it's pretty easy. So if you take the in first, she clocked in at 7:54 a.m. She clocked out at 11:87, and then in the afternoon she clocked back in again, about 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That's what the quarter hour means, so it's saying round to the nearest hour. So 8 to 12 is 4 hours, 1 to 5, 4 hours. So regular hours column and an overtime hours column. Once you understand it, it's pretty easy. So add that together, we get a total of 8 regular hours. Then we do the same thing for Tuesday. So that was Monday the 1st. Now it's Tuesday. These are the morning hours, afternoon hours, and any evening hours. Then this is where we record the hours, regular versus overtime. So we're just calculating. 8 to 12, again, is 4 hours. 1 to 5 is another 4 hours. We worked a total of 8 hours. I'm just rounding to the nearest hour. So this is 8 to 12, and this is 1 to 5. So we have another 8 hours. And then on Thursday, we worked 8 to 12. So that's 4 hours. Sometimes I do this if it gets a little confusing, 4 hours. 1 to 5, that's another 4 hours. And then 6 to 9:30 is 3.5 hours. So if we add those up, 8 and plus 3.5, we're over the 8 hours already. So 4 plus 4 plus 3.5. So 8 of those hours go in our regular time, and then anything over the 8 hours per day goes in our overtime, 3.5. So now it's Friday. She worked from 1 to 5, which is 4 hours, and then 6 to 10. That's 4 hours. Looks like it doesn't matter if she works morning or evening time. She just needs to get her 8 hours in. So we'll write 8 there. Now we start a new week. So 8 to 12, that's 4 hours, 1 to 5. Another 4 hours, total of 8 hours. 8 to 12, 1 to 6. So 1 to 6 is actually 5 hours and 4 hours. So we can't have more than 8 hours. So we have 1 hour of overtime. So again, I'm just calculating 8 to 12 is 4 hours. 1 to 5 would be 8 hours, but it's 1 to 6. So now we're at 9 hours. So we can only have 8 hours of regular time, 1 hour of overtime. 8 to 12, 1 to 5, we have another 8 hours. Then on Thursday, we have 8 to 5, 8 to 12, 1 to 5. She probably clocks out for lunch. That's what's happening. She probably gets an hour lunch, but she doesn't get paid for it. 8 to 1, which is how many hours? 6, 5, 8, 9, 10. Then 2 to 5 is 3 hours. So we're at 8 hours again. For those of you that have to count on your hands, you could do that too. 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. 5 hours. Pretty easy to calculate. And then 10 to 1 on Saturday. So we look back over the week and we see that Monday through Friday she worked 8 hours every day, so she definitely made her 40 hours. So if she was working on Saturday, she has 3 additional overtime hours. And then finally, Monday starts 8 to 12 and 1 to 5. So she worked another 8 hours. Okay, so this is just calculating, just how much they make for their hourly rate. And you don't want to just record all of it at the regular rate, because if you work overtime, which is over the 40 per week or 8 hours a day, then you get paid more. So then you just add up all the hours, and total for the period was 88. And then you add up all the overtime hours, 7.5. Approved by, you could just write your name if you want. You could write LCS. It's approved by. And then part 2. Enter the regular and overtime hours for Miss Webster in the schedule. For each employee, calculate the amount of regular, overtime, and total earnings. Overtime hours are paid at time and a half, the regular rate. Round the dollar amounts to the nearest cents. Okay, so employee number 1 was, let's see here. Let's do what they said first. Enter the regular and overtime hours for Miss Webster. So she's employee number 4. So her regular hours were the 88, and her overtime hours were 7.5. So we want to calculate regular earnings and overtime earnings. So the first thing that we can do is take the 80 times the regular rate, which is $9. So take 80 hours times $9, and you should get 720. Hopefully you have your calculators and you're following along. I like to just go right across the regular hours first. So 80 regular hours times $12.50 an hour, we should get 1,000. And then we'll take 70 times the 975, and we get 682.50. Finally, we take the 88 regular hours and times it by $11. We should get 968. So this breaks down each employee, how much they made in their regular time. And then we would get out our calculators and multiply this number times time and a half. So you would take 9 times 1.5 to find the overtime rate. So if we take 9 times 1.5, we should get $13.50. That is employee number 1's overtime rate. So when you take $13.50 and times it by the 5 hours of overtime, they should be making $67.50. Okay, and the textbook told us that. It said that overtime hours are paid at time and a half. That's how we call this, 1.5. So this is multiplying the 9 by 1, which gets us 9, and then by half of 9. So anyone who's working overtime gets their full pay plus half of their pay. So they're making $13.50 in overtime. Then I'll do it again for employee number 2. So $12.50 times 1.5. And I have to type it into my calculator. $12.50 times 1.5. $18.75. If we take $18.75, which is the overtime rate that we have to calculate, times the 3 hours of overtime, they should be making $56.25 in overtime. No overtime hours here, so that's easy, a 0. And then finally we'll take the $11 rate that they're getting times 1.5. I did that down there. 11 times 1.5. So 11 full dollars, and then half of 11, which get $16.50. Multiply that by the overtime hours of $7.50, and we get $123.75. Okay, hopefully I wasn't too slow for you, and hopefully you guys understand that. Then we just add up the total earnings for each individual. So we go through 720 plus 6750 is 787.50. You type that into your calculator. 1,056.25, 682.50, and 1,091.75. All right, that finishes up work together 12-1. Good luck.